and welcome for a new format for this video. But before we start, I want to thank everybody who subscribed to the channel, and I also want to thank everybody who wrote messages. The previous video, the video about the dragon embroidery, had a lot of success, and that was so sweet, so thank you very much. As you could see, we are a small channel. I started a couple of months ago. Maybe it's a year actually, but I've been posting regularly a couple of months ago. I had 29 subscribers before the dragon embroidery video, and I have 86. So it is a big jump for me, and I really want to thank everybody. So for that video, as I said, different formats. I want to celebrate with you. Today is the day I retire. I am so glad. Today is the end of my career in IT and the beginning of a hopefully very successful career as an artist. So the reason why I decided to leave the IT world altogether is because it didn't offer me the thing that I was looking for. I started working in IT 7 years ago. My first job when I arrived in Czech Republic was as a customer service representative for a big corporate. And I really loved this job. The team I had, the guys were amazing, my customers were so sweet. It was really good. I worked in that team for 3 years. I became the team lead, and then I moved on to another position, and I worked as a project and process specialist. And it is within this position that I started doing testing. Right away, I loved it, because it was something new, and I love learning new stuff. So it was something new. We were very busy, tight deadlines. Every day was different, every day was challenging, and I love that. I love the pressure, I love challenges. I love when you have so much work that you don't even have time to breathe. That's what I like, and that's what I got there. The team I worked with was amazing. We had so much fun, and I wanted to stay at that position for as long as possible because I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that I even wanted to understand how development works, because that allowed me to become a better tester. And so I started to learn about development on my own, doing some online courses and stuff like that. And basically what happened, I went on vacation for 2 weeks. I kept telling my husband how happy I was at work, how I loved it, and I wanted to do that for still a lot of years. I came back from work, I sat behind my desk, and I decided to quit. I don't know where it came from, but I just wanted to do something else. I didn't want to work in the corporate anymore because I didn't like the mentality, and I wanted to learn more about development, testing, and I wanted to do this job really professionally. Here in the company that I was working for, I knew that it would not last forever because it's the kind of company that like to move people from one position to another. And they wanted to move me into more of a management supervisor position, which is something that I did not want. So I decided to quit, and I wanted to have 1 year for myself to learn a little bit more, to travel, and to start some crafty stuff. The first thing that I made were pillows and tote bags. That's something that I liked to do, but very quickly I realized that I was not going to make a living out of that because I just did not want to spend hours and hours just manually doing the same thing every day. I like to do different stuff. Making bags, like a couple of them, that's fine, but to do that every day, no. So I just started with that, but then I had to push everything aside because my husband and I decided to divorce, and so I had to look for a more stable job to be able to pay the mortgage on my own. That's when I decided to work in IT. And because in my first company, everybody told me that I was a great tester, I was really good at my job, and I had a lot of experience, I thought it would be easy. I thought wrong because the experience that I had with that kind of testing was good, yes, but I did not have enough technical testing skills. The second problem is that I wanted to work for a company in which I would only speak Czech because I wanted to improve my Czech. And even though I had been at that point living in Czech Republic for 7 years, my Czech was not really good because my husband never wanted to help me learning his language. He never wanted to communicate in Czech with me. So I basically had to learn on my own and then talk with his family from time to time, but that was it. In my first job, I spoke English and French only. So 2 big challenges for me. A language that is not that great, and skills or experience that is not that great either. And I basically went to a lot of interviews and being rejected to almost all of them, which was something that was very overwhelming and scary. Before that, I was used to having an interview, getting the job. And now I was just like, no. But I didn't want to give up. And eventually someone gave me a chance. So I started working at a bank as a testing manager. Not a tester, but testing manager. And that was interesting because I had 2 bosses in that company. And one wanted me because my Czech was not really good and my experience wasn't really good either. And he was like, damn, she had balls. And the other one didn't want me because my Czech wasn't good, my experience was not good, and therefore I was not the right candidate. So working in that company was one of the biggest challenge I had to face. I was the only foreigner, the only person who did not speak well. And every day I just felt like an idiot. I just wanted to run away and hide in my bed and cry, and every day was like that for about a year. Also, something that was interesting is that I did not have anything to do in that position. So first off, my main task was to forward email from the business to the tester. That was just so stupid, such a useless job. And then check stuff in the system, make sure that everything is green when it's supposed to be green, useless crap. And I did not have a lot of work. And when I say not a lot, most of the days I would watch YouTube videos. There were days where I did not work at all. On a normal day, I would work maybe 1 hour. That was it. There were days where I would work more, 4-6 hours, but it was maybe 1 per month, maybe not even that. So I was so bored that I thought there must be something that I don't understand. My Czech is not that good, and therefore it prevents me from understanding the task that I'm supposed to do. And because I don't understand properly what I'm supposed to do, I'm not doing anything. So I asked my colleague, I checked around, and then I realized that I was not the only one who didn't do anything. That was a theme. That was something that was more or less normal. I hated it, obviously. I wanted to quit. I hated that job. Not only was it boring, but when I had something to do, it was useless, it was not interesting, and The boss that did not want me gave me a hard time. And so yeah, I wanted to be done with this job, but I don't like to give up. And therefore I did not quit. And I stayed and stayed and stayed. And eventually, luckily for me, COVID hit and it was time for lockdown. And I was so happy because finally I could be at work, not having to pretend that I was working. I could be at home, have my computer open, just check from time to time if I received a message from my colleagues. That was it. And the rest of the time, I started crafting more and more, and especially sewing. I went to Venice and I wanted to make my own costume. And that's how I started learning. So I made the costume. First I did some simple dresses. I asked my mother to show me how to read a pattern, how to sew, and basic stuff. And the rest I learned on my own. So I made a couple of dresses just for me to go to work. And then I started working on the costume, which I completed, but I did not go to Venice because of COVID. And the costume, because again, it's my first, it's not that great, it doesn't fit really well. And that is actually a costume that I will redo because I really want to go to Venice. I love the carnival, I think it's beautiful. You probably saw that I am working on the Dragon Queen at the moment, finishing this costume. And the Venice Carnival one will be the next one that I will work on, and I'm really excited. I will do more or less the same costume. I know it's not very extravagant for Venice, but it's my first and I just want to do the same thing but just better. So there will be some changes, but more or less the shape, the idea of the costume will remain the same. Back to my story. I started sewing more and more while working, and eventually the company decided they needed to save money and they fired me. So I went on to other interviews. My check was a little bit better. My experience was definitely not, because when you don't do anything for 2.5 years, well, you don't gain any experience at all. And this time I knew for sure I wanted to work as a tester, because the tester do the job. Like testing managers, oh man, it's useless as. So I wanted to work as a tester, and most of the response that I got was, you don't have enough experience. Do you know how to use the console? And I'm like, I guess not, because I don't even know what it is. But eventually, one day, someone gave me a chance and I got into a company that uses the console. The colleague that I was replacing explained to me what it was, and then I was confused because nobody wanted to give me a job because of that thing. And he explained it to me within 10 minutes. I expected that it would be a lot more complicated, you know. And that at that point, I realized that people would assume that because that if you don't know something, you won't know it, or it will take you ages to learn how to use it properly, even though it's something that a monkey could learn in 2 minutes. Anyway, I learned about that console. Then my colleague leaves and I'm the only one who is in charge of the testing. The first 2 days I worked a lot because I had to learn the processes, the software that I was going to use, and I remember I was writing to my friends saying, yeah, I worked 8 hours today, and the second day I was like, yeah, 8 hours again, and I was so happy. And then after a while, and a short while, I started to work less and less. There was no testing coming, nothing for me to do, or very rarely. So most of the time, again, I would work 1 hour a day, not more, and sometimes like nothing at all. And one thing that is so stupid in these kind of jobs as well is that every day you have a meeting in which you are supposed to tell the team about what you worked on the previous day and what you will be working on this day. And when you have nothing to do, I mean, like, you have to invent, you have to tell the same crap over and over again. I started very quickly to get bored, and also something that I would start happening over and over again in my next jobs, because I did change quite a lot, is that there is nothing to do, but the company has budget, so they decide to hire someone extra. So I was there alone, working 1 hour per day, and I would have now to share that hour with someone else. The girl that joined the company was good, very energetic, she wanted to learn stuff, and she quickly got bored. So we arrived at the period where I was bored, she was bored. I looked for another job, to have two jobs, to work two jobs at the same time. And I went on an interview, they wanted me. I said no because the interview was weird. They sent me a list of recommendations before the interview. Like I was not allowed to wear a t-shirt like this, for example, with something written on it. If I wanted to drink during the interview, I had to drink from a cup or glass, not directly from the bottle, and that I had to turn my camera on. And when we had the interview, the guy who presented it or who organized it had a t-shirt with some writing on it, and the rest of the team did not turn their camera on. So I had a really strange feeling about that company, and I decided not to work with them. They told me they really wanted me, and they proposed me a higher salary than what I asked for at the beginning. They offered me 50% more than what I was earning in my current company. I thought a little bit about it, but then my other colleague quit, and so I'm like, okay, I like the people I work with in my actual company. I'm bored, but I like the team. This other company, I don't like that much, and as well my colleague is leaving, so if I leave at the same time, the company I work for actually will have no tester, and they will be a little bit like struggling to find someone quickly. So I decided to stay with them. 1 month later, they called me on a Friday at 4:30, Friday 2nd of July, and they tell me, don't come back on Monday, we won't need you in July. And I'm like, you won't need me in July as in you will need me in August again? Hopefully, yeah. And will I be paid for the 2 days that I worked? Yeah, I think so. So just like that, I was fired, and I had to wait 2 or 3 months to be paid the 2 days. Not the greatest experience, but again, one thing that was positive there is that I learned some new software, and because it was still COVID going on with lockdown from time to time, we could work from home, and I started doing a big cross-stitch embroidery while I was working in that company. Cross-stitch embroidery is something that I started when I was young. This is one of the things that I did. The story for this one is actually funny because I did it for my mother. When I gave her the pillow, she told me, but you already did it. I already have it in a frame. And I'm like, really? So I did it twice. So now this one is mine. But the embroidery that I worked on while having this job, my second job, is lionesses, and they are so beautiful, and I spend so much time on it, sometimes like 10 hours a day, 11 hours a day. At the end, my elbow, my wrist, my neck was so painful, and I didn't have the frame, so I had to hold the fabric, which was like quite big, so not comfortable at all. But I really liked the result, and I had spent so much time on it that I wasn't sure I would do a big embroidery again until the Kingfisher embroidery that I started to work on last year. So that embroidery is huge. It is 53 by 63 centimeters. It has over 170,000 stitches. It has 80 different colors. So we have all these colors here plus some extra. So a lot of thread is going into that embroidery, but it is beautiful. I saw it, I knew right away I wanted to have it, and I will most probably spend 2 years on it. I have done the first 2 rows and I spent 366 hours. But anyway, let's go back to the story. After I got fired from this job, I found another one, and again, same thing happened. At the beginning, I worked a lot, so basically they hired me because the team had a lot of backlog, they had a lot of work, and the person that were there could not handle everything. So because there was a lot of work at the beginning, because I was new and I had to learn how things were working in that company, I worked a lot. And again, I was writing to my friend, oh my god, it's 7 in the evening and I'm still working and I worked all day and I'm so happy. And that happened 2 weeks, I think. And then as we worked our way through the backlog, we had less and less tasks. And the new task didn't come as quickly as we could have managed. So I started to work less and less and less until the project was almost complete and I started to get bored again. And so because this job was again a remote job, I could do more clothing. And is it during this job that I started my witch costume? I'm not sure. I think it was during that job, because I was in France at that time, and there is a witch festival not too far from I grew up that I went to, and at that time the only costume that I made was the one for Venice. Otherwise, the only clothes that I made were like normal clothes, mostly dresses, a couple of pants as well, but normal clothes. And so we go to that witch festival and my mother is like, hey, for next year, maybe you can make your own witch costume. And I was like, challenge accepted, baby. So I started working on my witch costume, and that one was so amazing. I very often feel like a fraud, feeling that what I do is not perfect, and in my head, if it's not perfect, it is crap. For that costume, there were things that were not perfect, and to be honest, I don't even remember exactly what it is now. You don't see it. The thing that was very difficult for me to accept is that when people see the costume, they tell me, oh, it's great, it's really beautiful, na. And I'm like, yeah, but this one is not working, that one is not done properly, and I had problem there, and I had problem there. Because what they see is the final result. They don't see the initial idea you had. They don't see the process. They don't see all the issues you had. But it is there for you. So that's why at least for me, it was sometimes difficult to accept that what I did was good, but I'm getting better at it. And with that witch costume, what was amazing about it is that I learned embroidery a little bit more. I wanted to embroider this costume, and I also wanted to have horns, I wanted to have a wand, and in order to make this thing, I had to learn how to work with foam, with Whirlblast, so new techniques, new challenges, and that was really awesome. that's the costume that I wore at festivals, and the reactions were so positive that it was sweet, like you have no idea. Some of the comments that I had, I remember last year I went to a festival. I was leaving the festival after the second day, and suddenly I hear people running behind me and asking me to stop and to wait because they wanted to take a picture. And they were like, "Oh, we saw you yesterday, but we could not take your picture, and we had been looking for you the whole weekend, so we are so glad we see you now." And I was like, wow, that's just so sweet. I mean, can you have a better compliment than this? That was, people's reaction was so sweet. And that made me want to continue and to do more costume and to go to more festivals. And that's eventually what I did. But let's go back to work again. So we arrived at my fourth IT job. I worked for a company that is called Rohlik. It's a Czech company. It's basically online delivery, food delivery. That company was more of a startup when I joined, even though it is moving into corporate because it's getting bigger and bigger as they are pretty successful. The great thing with this company is that they were expanding. So they wanted more testers. The job was going to be challenging there, and it was. Oh boy, it was. So I had to learn a lot. The process was very complicated, way more complex than what I had in my previous companies, and they use more softwares than what I was used to. And as well, that job was a lot more technical. So if you had a bug, before you would just write to the developer, say, "I have this problem, can you please check and solve it?" Here, you would investigate. So you would say, "Okay, I have this bug, I think it's because of that problem in the code, because I found like this error message, can you please check?" And what was amazing in that company is that the people were so fucking competent. They were awesome at their jobs, and they were very motivated as well. So you really felt that people had fun working, and it was so motivating. It was really awesome. It was a big challenge because I had to learn a lot and quickly, and also something that was crazy. 3 months after I joined, they decided that my colleague, whom I was helping, had to take vacation because he had work like crazy, doing like crazy hours, working like 40 hours a day. It was time he had vacation. And his vacation was planned at the same time we had a huge release. I was the one in charge of testing the whole stuff. And I'm like, "Guys, you are crazy. You ask me to test something that I have no idea I'm supposed to test. I don't even understand the thing. I'm not even confident enough in what I have already learned, and you want me to learn something extra and to test it on my own. This is going to be a disaster." Every day, almost for 3 months, I banged my head against the wall. I screamed, I cried, I cursed. I was working in France at that time because it was again like online remote job. So I was working in France, and my mother saw me and she was like, "You have to quit, otherwise like you go mad. You have a depression, you have a burnout, like you can't continue." Every day I was talking to my friend and I was like, "Fuck, I don't understand, this is crazy." And they were like, "Quit, just find something else." And I'm like, no, I want to understand, I want to be able to do it. I'm not a quitter. And eventually the testing time for that thing arrived, and it went pretty well. And then we released everything into production, so like the version that the customer would use. And I was expecting to have a lot of problems, like, "This went so well, it's not possible, I must have done something wrong, there is something that I missed." So on the first day of the rollout, I'm like, waiting for problems to happen, being stressed, and no problem. And I'm like, huh? Second day, no problem. And I was like, wow, I might have done my job properly actually. And yes, I did, and everybody was surprised. The team did not really expect that I would put it off. I did not expect that I would put it off, but I did, and that was amazing. And then I felt so confident, and I remember I could work like really fast after that, multitasking. That job gave me what I was looking for. I wanted to work like a horse. I wanted deadlines. I wanted pressure, and they gave me all that. And yet, 6 months after I joined, the company started to struggle and they had to fire 30%, I think, of the team. And because I was one of the last who joined, I was one of the first to go. And that felt like a stab in the heart and a stab in the back. I gave them everything I had. And I was fired. And the worst is that they did not want me to go. They really fought to keep me. But there was no way. I had to go. So I left. I remember I cried so much on the last day. I was so sad, and I'm still a little bit emotional about it, because that really, you know, when you see the potential, you really want something. You really want to work hard and to do your best, and finally you find a company that give it to you, and then they're like, you know what, we will take it back. We don't want to, but we have to. So that was very frustrating, and I thought that maybe I really needed to stop working in IT and to find another way, because I started to be really tired of it. Everybody was always happy with the way I worked, but yet, no more money, you have to go. And it was always the same crap. Financially speaking, I could not leave, so I had to find another job. And so I found a new agency, the best agency in Czech Republic. They allow you to learn, to go to trainings and stuff like that. And that's the thing that I wanted, but it came too late. And I was not really motivated anymore, but I tried. Then they find me a customer, and right away I knew that I was going to be bored out of my mind again. So with this customer, when I had the interview, they told me that it was very complex and that it would take me 6 months to learn my way around. It took me 1 week. They had processes. So you know, it's like big pharma, corporate, everything I hate. It works like that in these companies. The process tells you this, you have to respect it. Even if it's not logical, it doesn't matter. Don't think, just do. Also, they don't live in the same time continuum. 1 week for us is like 6 months for them. Sometimes they will come to you and tell you, okay, you have to test this. This is very urgent. We need it by the end of the week. You start testing and you're like, I have a problem. Then can you please check it? It is urgent. And like for 3 weeks, nothing happened. Boring as fuck. And again, after a year, they're like, you know what, we don't have money anymore, so we need to fire everybody. And they fired me, and they unfired me, and then they refired me, and then they unfired me again, and basically it was always like that. Giving me a new contract for like 1 month, 2 months, and then telling me like, oh, maybe we will continue, but we don't know, but next week we will know, but we are not sure, but who knows. This was, again, remote. I did not do anything, so I could work a lot on the costumes and the things that I wanted to make artistically. That's when I started working on my Vampire Queen. Now, the Vampire Queen was a challenging costume. I wanted an embroidery. I wanted red fabric. I started it with velvet, even though I know that for velvet you have to be very careful about how you cut it, because the fabric has a direction. I cut it the wrong way. And I realized that after everything was sewn and after I had started the embroidery. embroidery that I didn't like and that I did twice because I wasn't happy with the result. And then even after the second time, I was still not happy, then the fabric was wrong. So I had to buy some more fabric and I asked someone to design the embroidery for me. And that was a big mess because first I wanted to have the embroidery only on the neckline, but then I decided to have it on the cape and on the skirt, but everything was sewn already, so I had to install it somehow on my embroidery frame. It was not easy and the embroidery took me 6 months. So that was like a crazy project as well, but luckily I could do it at home while working. A part of me realized that I was lucky that I could have this kind of jobs because I worked from home. I had a lot of money for the amount of work that I had to put in, and I was basically paid to make costumes. So that was good. But at the same time, that's the kind of thing that is good if you are brain dead. But if you are someone who is active, if you really want to work, if you don't want to get bored, you can't be happy. It is not fulfilling. I wanted to take my life into my own hands again. And so I decided to quit and to work as an artist. That was as well a little bit scary because unlike other artists that I see on the internet, some people that are specialized in amigurumi, crochet, cosplay, things like that. Me, I'm interested in everything. And there are not a lot of artists that are interested in a lot of things, and these artists basically need to attract people more based on their personality than the thing they create, because the personality is the only common theme in their videos. And I'm not sure I will be able to attract person with my personality, but we'll try and we'll see. The idea I have is to have 3 videos a month. One will be a kind of vlog, something like this, but probably where I will show more, because like right now I just like talking and hopefully not boring you too much. But I would like to have some blogs to tell you what I'm working on, what are my next projects, and also to show you the things that I do that don't take me enough time to be able to have some videos just for them. For example, I like to do amigurumis. I like to sometimes knit. I do also from time to time bobbin lace. But you can't make a full video out of that. So I want to add it in the vlog. I also will still do costumes. I have several ideas of costumes, and that it's something that takes time. So that's the videos in which I will explain a little bit how I'm making the costume, where the idea came from and things like that. And the last video will be no talking, maybe ASMR or relaxing box making, because box making is something that I enjoyed a lot, even though I discovered it very recently. I only made 2 boxes so far, but I want to make more, and especially I want to make my own designs. That's something that I want to do more and more, and hopefully one day I will be able to sell my boxes and sell the patterns. That's the plan for the channel at the moment. I would not be surprised if I change my mind like half a dozen times. So this is the beginning of a new journey for me, and I am very excited. The next video will be one that I was looking for a long time. It is the wings of my dragon costume. The costume is almost done. I'm still working on the accessories. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. If you have some ideas or something that you think that I should do or not be doing, write it in the comment. I'm interested in your opinion. And once again, I want to thank everybody who subscribed to the channel, who wrote comments. That is very, very sweet. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.